What's up, y'all? Today we are making popcorn grain spawn bags. For this, you'll need a PC, pressure cooker, stovetop popcorn kernels that are 100% whole grain and non-GMO. That's really important. And gypsum, this isn't necessary. It's just an extra source of nutrition. Some people like to use coffee grounds as well. But again, it is an option, not a necessity. A mushroom grain bag I got from Mushroom Media Online on Etsy, which I will be putting a link to, that has a 0.2 micron filter on it. Now that you're ready to begin, I'd like to start by putting my popcorn kernels into water and letting them sit in there for about 15 to 20 minutes just to clean them up a bit before we throw them into the pressure cooker. Now that they are soaking, leave them in there for about 15 to 20 minutes and begin filtering the water out once done. Whenever your popcorn is done soaking, begin to filter it out through a strainer or whatever is available to you. Once it is done being filtered out, we will begin to put it into the pressure cooker. Once your popcorn is filtered, put it into the pressure cooker and fill it with water. And make sure that the water level is at least 2 inches higher than the popcorn level because the kernels will expand once they're hydrated. Now if you have gypsum or coffee grounds, now would be the time to add it in there. I don't have an exact ratio for this, but gypsum expands very well. You do not need much of it at all, so just use, I would say, tiny amounts. Now whenever you have added it in there, just stir the pot around and make sure it spreads evenly. Once you're ready to start the hydrating process, just put your stove to high heat and leave it there until it gets to a simmering stage. Once you're at a simmering stage, just begin to hold it there for about 40 to 45 minutes and make sure to stir about every 10 minutes just to ensure that the kernels at the bottom don't get burnt. Once your corn is completely hydrated, just begin to filter it out. I filter it out through a sink. The sink is completely cleaned out with soap, water, and then isopropyl alcohol. Once you are ready, just dump everything in there and let the corn sit in there for about 1 hour up to 24 hours and stir it about every 10 minutes or so just to ensure that it is evenly dried. I also like to put a fan on it to make sure that it is 100% dried. You don't want to risk getting wet rot in your bags. I would also suggest turning on the cold water as you're filtering, just so the hot water does not damage your pipes. Now that the water is filtered out, just keep the corn in here for about 1 to 24 hours and make sure to stir it every 10 minutes or so to ensure that it is evenly dried out. You don't have to put a fan on it, but I just like to do so in order to ensure that it is 100% dried. Now, if you want to be extra safe, you can look through the kernels and make sure to take out any burnt or just bad kernels in the pile. As you can see here, this is an example of bad kernels that you want to take out so you don't get contamination further down the road. Now that your corn is completely dried, just put it into bags. I use 2 quarts per bag, but Depending on your bag size, you can go higher or you could go lower. So once it's in the bags, just fold it down, filter in or out. Personally, I don't think it matters if the filter is facing outwards or inwards. It's worked perfectly fine for me either way. Now that you are ready to begin the sterilization process, we're going to go ahead and set up our pressure cooker. For my pressure cooker, I add 3 quarts of water, but this can depend on the size of your pressure cooker. You're going to want to add enough water to fill up about 1 inch to 1.5 inches of your pressure cooker, just the bottom. The steam will be the thing sterilizing your grain, not the water itself. So now that you've added your water, you're going to want to make sure that the grain bags do not touch the water. And the way I like to do this is I add 2 mason jars to the bottom of the pressure cooker just to make sure that my grain bags stay afloat. Now that you have successfully set up your pressure cooker, just begin to put your folded bags in there. Now that you are done putting your bags in, make sure that you put a ceramic plate on top of the bags just to ensure that the flaps of the bags do not fly up and block any air vents, causing your pressure cooker to explode. Now that you have everything set up, put your lid on top of the pressure cooker without the weight for the first 10 to 15 minutes. You don't want a weight. You want to make sure that all the air within the PC completely vents out, so it will be much easier for your pressure cooker to get to 15 psi once you add the weight. Once the lid is on, just turn your pressure cooker to high and wait about 10 to 15 minutes before putting on the weight. Now that it has been 10 to 15 minutes and all the air has vented out of your pressure cooker, just put the weight on it and wait until it gets to 15 psi. Once your pressure cooker has gotten to 15 psi, put your stovetop to medium and hold it at that 15 mark for 2.5 hours. Once that 2.5 hours has finished, just turn off your stovetop and leave it there. Do not take off the weight, just leave it there to decompress on its own and let it sit overnight to completely cool down. Once your pressure cooker has completely cooled down, turn off your fan and close your AC vent for at least an hour so all the dust settles. Wipe down anything in your vicinity with 70% isopropyl alcohol. Once you have done that, pop open your pressure cooker and immediately take the grain bags and seal them with a heat sealer. I like to get at least 2 to 3 good seals in just to ensure that nothing is getting into that grain bag. Now that you have completely sealed all the bags, I like to go through each and every one and give them all a good shake just to mix up any sort of condensation that may be in the bags. And once you've done that, they're good to use for LC, agar, spore syringe, whatever you may feel like. This is what the bag should look like once completely colonized. Pitch white with mycelium, no contamination whatsoever. I hope that this helped you and that you learned something. Much love to you all.